of fire you've been. Beautiful girl, how full of fire you've been.
Here we are, the second of this great shake-up. Great to have your company wherever you're watching around Australia. My name's Hamish McLaughlin and it is a privilege to be your host today. I think there's 100 boardrooms around Australia and almost 2,000 people watching this second virtual and interactive event. It's the second time we've done it, as I said. Daryl Summers last year, he was very good. I hope over the next hour you'll be educated, informed and entertained. We've got a terrific singer, we've got some great acts and hopefully we'll be doing some fundraising along the way. Very simply, this is an educational hour where we hope you can learn more about blood cancer in Australia. The Snowdome Foundation has put on the Great Shake-Up and this is the hour that we're involved in right now. And quite simply, the mission statement of the Snowdome Foundation is to give quick and better treatment, new treatment, for blood cancer for those that need it in Australia. So what we're going to do is we are going to hopefully at the Great Shake-Up, have a conversation about blood cancer. We've got Professor Miles Prince, who sounds very regal, but he's one of the great doctors in this country. We'll speak to him about all of the issues with leukemia, lymphoma and myeloma. Your opportunity to have a chat. We'll also have a live auction, so have a look at the handle that is being shown on your screens right now. If you'd like to jump on and bid at any time, you can. Ryan Fitzgerald is a man that spends most of his mornings with Whipper. Fitzy is in Sydney. He's have a sneak peek at the auction items. Let's go to Fitzy now.
Fitzy here. I work on the radio and I need your help because it's Snowdome Foundation's Great Shake-Up and we need to make a lot of money from these items. Get your wallet out. Sorry, can you just wait? George, you still there? No, he's gone. How good are some of these? All right, listen to this. How about dinner with Heston Blumenthal at the Fat Duck? I've actually eaten there in London, and then I had to go interview Julia Gillard, half pissed. It's a good day. What about lurking around on the red carpet, fighting off the paparazzi with the Kardashian clan? Yes, please. Receiving treatment from my own personal nurse. That is all. Your own personal nurse? What about, I like the look of the ultimate Melbourne sports package, tickets to next year's grand final, Cup Day in the Lavazza tent at the Birdcage, and also the Boxing Day test at the G, and a spot of polo on the lawn at Werribee Park. These are some of the auction items that you can bid for, and it goes to a great cause. Get behind Snowdome and bid, because this is huge. All right? I mean it. Guys, just wait there a second. Brad Pitt, how are you, mate? It's Fitzy here from Nova.
He's very good, Fitzy. Just a little bit of premature speculation from Fitzy. Heston and the Fat Duck, it's not available to bid on for another month, but Chris Lilly, who you'd all know in the boardrooms, has just emailed through this. You can go to ebay.com.au/Princess Pictures, which is right now on your screens. A collection of rare items from the Chris Lilly comedy series. You can pick up the costume of Jar May, the private schoolgirl, if you want to look really bizarre, or Jonah from Tonga and Angry Boys. So that is all available and all proceeds going to the Snowdome Foundation. Just a quick reminder, Snowdome Foundation, established in 2010, $8.3 million already raised. And the Great Shake-Up last year, from the day itself and the months afterwards, raised $1 million. Already today, we're up to $300,000 as a result of you in your offices around Australia participating. So you can have your say, you can have a chat and you ask a question. We've got Vanessa Cohen in the Twitter seat. Welcome to you, Ness.
Thank you, Hamish.
Now, you're on the committee of the Great Shake-Up.
I am.
Congratulations on putting it all together. Enormous. We've got a great hour ahead. Thanks for being a part of it. Any questions, any time, tweet straight to you.
Fantastic. Would love to. Reading the Twitter feed now, and we've got something from our Health Minister, David Davis.
What's he got to say?
He is sending his support to Snowdome's Great Shake-Up today and acknowledging the great work they're doing in funding research to help improve the outcomes of thousands of Australians battling blood cancer.
The handle is?
The handle is at snowdome.com.
And Great Shake-Up, hashtag, you know how it works at home, tweet, twerk, whatever you need to do. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to disappear out the front door of AFL House, but Professor Miles Prince, who we'll be speaking to later, knows everything about everything. One of the key messages today, and I need to look at this, is epigenetics. He's going to speak in just a moment about that. As he talks about it, I'm running over to a boat to meet with Andrew Cody, who is a blood cancer sufferer. So as I throw you to Miles, I'm out the door, I think, Hope this works pretty well. I've got to go this way, but Professor Miles is just going to speak to you in just a moment. I'm going this way. Well played. He's going to speak about epigenetics. I'm going out the door, I think.
Put simply, epigenetics is a caterpillar and a butterfly. They both have the same genes, but whatever goes on in that cocoon is a whole series of chemical reactions that change the caterpillar into a butterfly. Switch on genes and switch them off. What happens in cancers is the same thing. Whatever's happening in the body is chemical reactions that's disturbing the normal state and turning it abnormal. Epigenetic drugs are about getting the abnormal and turning it back to the normal.
Oh, I hope this is like the Wolf of Wall Street parties that I've seen. I thought I was fitter than I am. Hi, Captain. I assume this is the right boat?
It is indeed. Welcome aboard.
Shoes off?
Shoes off.
Righto. How many have we got on board?
Oh, we've got 49 on board today, so it should be a good day.
I'm looking for Andrew Cody.
Andrew, he'll be on the foredeck sipping champagne.
Does that mean the front?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Shoes are off. We stormed the SY Ina, that's the Storm Yacht Ina. I'm on the starboard side apparently, just got told that by the captain. So we're out of the studio and we've come to the boat where the party is. 45 people inside watching this great shake-up live and interactive. And we're now going to speak with Andrew Cody. Andrew, welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on board. You are the host of the party, but also a blood cancer sufferer.
I am indeed. I'm the host of the party today. We have 45 guests from around Australia and we're going to have a damn good time. I'm a cancer sufferer, but I'm one of the lucky ones.
Tell us about your story. It's remarkable. Diagnosed and right now enjoying life.
Diagnosed 15 years ago, but it actually got serious in 2009. And they told me that I was knocking on death's door. But look at me today. I'm 34 kilos heavier. And it's all to do because of the wonderful Snowdome Foundation funding research. And I'm one of the recipients of the drug.
So what drug was it that saved your life?
It's a JAK2 inhibitor known as ruxolitinib. When I received it, it was on compassionate grounds. It's not available. It's still not available, I don't believe, freely in the marketplace here in Australia today, but hopefully it will be soon.
And Miles Prince is suddenly a hero of yours?
Absolutely. He's the man that saved my life, and I don't think anybody realises how hard these guys work. And they're in the hospitals at 7 o'clock in the morning. They're there on the weekends. They work so hard and they mentor other groups to do research, and it's because of this and the money that people give that can make these things possible.
I'm in the sports game. We speak about tennis players, cricketers, footballers being heroes and superstars, but the reality is the medicos, and neurologist saved my daughter's life at 8 months. They're the real heroes in this town.
Oh, they are indeed, and thank God for them. So we're very lucky people, both of us, in fact, aren't we?
Yep.
And we're lucky too because other people support this, these events and put money into it and allow people to do the research that'll save their lives one day, or people that'll adhere to them.
So we're trying to raise an enormous amount of money today, and you yourself have got 45 people inside. They're being very quiet. They're watching this interview at the moment, so don't muck it up. But you're also having a few fundraising initiatives inside. Are you allowed to speak about it or not really?
We can talk about a few things, but there's a little surprise for them. But actually today we've got 10 different items for auction, and there's $1 reserve on each, and some of them worth $5,000. So we'll see what happens. Should be some fun and games.
Thank you for being a part of it today. Thank you for having us on the boat, and congratulations on doing so well.
Thank you, Hammer. I appreciate the work you've done for the Snowdome Foundation as well.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Andrew Cody, I'm going back to the studio.
My father faced his adversity with absolute optimism. There was no other option. And up until, days before he passed away, he had optimism. When the doctors told him that there was nothing more that can be done and to go home,
There's more on the Rezio wall painting in just a moment, more on the Henry Jolson story from his family. That was the weirdest thing I've ever done, to be honest, go straight out onto a boat. We're back, and that was probably more difficult than it had to be. Ness is going to get some tweets in just a moment, but let's go and check in on the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. It's the only public hospital in Australia that focuses solely on cancer. A day in a life there, it's a tough day.
In 2010, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Lorna has a T-cell non-Hodgkin lymphoma, which is a rare kind of lymphoma. And while it often responds well to chemotherapy, unfortunately, Lorna wasn't so lucky. She went through standard chemotherapy and then very intensive stem cell transplantation, but her lymphoma relapsed very soon after that, and we had no other options other than to try new drugs.
My doctor said to me, your lymphoma laughs at the standard treatments. So we got to a very low point at that stage. I was given weeks to live. Then Michael Dickinson, being involved in research here at Peter Mac, had access to the new drugs and those epigenetic drugs. And so he said, well, how about trying one of these?
Epigenetics is the instruction set within cells that tell them what to become. So, for example, the instructions that tell a cell to become a heart cell or a lung cell or a skin cell, it's epigenetics that drives that process rather than the DNA code. In cancer, we know that epigenetics is one of the major causes of cancer.
My name's Gareth Gregory. I'm a haematologist and currently working in cancer research at the Peter MacCallum Cancer Institute. One of the therapies I'm working on targets some of the epigenetic mechanisms that cancer cells use to evade the host's immune system and to be able to affect cancer in the patient.
Unfortunately, some of the new drugs that are available to treat blood cancers aren't widely available. These combination studies I've done are designed to bring those drugs to patients sooner than they would otherwise be available in the market, but also to try to develop combinations that make the drugs either more effective or less toxic for patients.
Currently, epigenetic therapies are expensive to research. The reasons for that are twofold. Firstly, the technologies that are used to be able to realise that the epigenetic aspects of cancer are dysregulated are expensive to access. And then secondly, once we begin the epigenetic therapies, we're still putting them through early phase clinical trials, and really only the first of those class of therapies are starting to become widespread and being used for patients in the clinic.
Clinical research needs the support of organisations like Snowdome, who recognise the gaps in our current funding systems and provide critical staff to help get projects up and running quickly. Snowdome's very dynamic, it communicates very closely with clinicians to work out where the gaps are, and is able to provide real resources, substantial resources, to important projects to get them up and going and to get them done.
Funding is absolutely critical to be able to get these therapies and then be able to do the mechanistic studies we need to do to then show the efficacy that will be achieved in clinic.
Some cancers which years ago were basically untreatable now respond beautifully to treatments. Patients are able to have treatment with very tolerable or minimal side effects. It's incredibly satisfying to see, and if we continue at that rate, I'm sure that many more of our blood cancers will become curable in my lifetime and in Lorna's lifetime.
I'd like to say to the Snowdome Foundation and also the researchers into epigenetics, keep on going, because I wouldn't be alive today without that drug, without the romidepsin. It's given me a better quality of life. It's given me 2 years extra already. So thank you, and keep on going.
Put your hands together for those at the Peter Mac that do it day in, day out. Makes you feel reasonably insignificant about what you do with your life, Ness. They are the real heroes, those doctors and nurses, and also those that are suffering.
Incredible. We're very fortunate to work with such experts.
Tell us what's going on Twitter, 10 minutes in.
We now have the Parliamentary Secretary for Health, Georgie Crozier, who's written to us.
Good.
And she has said, the Great Shake-Up is a fantastic initiative, and I congratulate Snowdome for their passion and commitment to provide vital funds accelerating new treatments and therapies for Australian blood cancer patients.
Terrific stuff.
And we've got our first question for the Professor, Miles Prince. The first one, Haim, is how many new treatments for blood cancer are waiting for clinical trials and how much does a trial cost?
Okay. Well, Miles Prince will be in just a little bit later, so just continue to aggregate the questions. Just a reminder, there is an auction going on. There's huge supporters all around Australia. Village Roadshow is one of those, and one of the auction items is 12 months of red carpet premieres. So think Hugh Grant with Julia Roberts in Notting Hill, obviously without Divine Brown, which got Hugh Grant into enormous trouble. But you will walk every red carpet that Village is putting on over the next 12 months. You can buy it this afternoon, and all the proceeds goes to the Snowdome Foundation. So indulge yourself and at the same time do an enormous amount of good for those that need it, those suffering from blood cancer. And thank you to all the team at Village. Marnie Phillips does an enormous amount for the Snowdome Foundation, and she is in the boardroom with the head honchos of Village.
Thanks, Hamish. I'm down here at Village Roadshow's head office with Robert Kirby, co-CEO and co-executive chairman, and Julie Rapp, finance director. Village Roadshow has taken 6 boardrooms for this year's Great Shake-Up, so there's teams watching from all over the country. It's also a real family affair down here at Village Roadshow because, Robert, I understand your wife, Mem Kirby, is involved and your daughter, Nina Aberdeen, is an ambassador for the Great Shake-Up. And there's been some terrific support from the team at Village Roadshow, including, of course, Patricia Moran and Karen MacArthur. So a huge thank you from Snowdome Foundation to you both and to Village Roadshow. What I'm interested in is why has Village Roadshow been so supportive of Snowdome Foundation and the Great Shake-Up over the past 2 years?
Well, it's not a hard question to answer, and you know, it's what we're all here for, because we actually understand how effective Snowdome has been. And I think that, more than anything else, is what inspires us. We're all involved in different ways within the community and making a contribution. But Snowdome has just this ethos and, you know, wonderful approach, which is taking direct treatments and new medicines directly to patients. And all of us feel that effectiveness and value. So we love to be involved with that. And I have to say, just in terms of our family and Village Roadshow, when I say Village Roadshow, of course, you know, we are a public company, but we're still a family company by tradition and the foundation. So Village Roadshow, our family company, my own Kirby family and Graham Burke's family, we've all been involved with cancer in the community for over 20 years, doing different things, much of it through the Peter Mac, and of course that also involves Miles Prince and all of what he does in his work, and now Snowdome. And then I take it into a personal family context. We've had a number of friends and family that have had blood cancers, so we also feel, you know, the value and effectiveness directly to us personally. But in the end, no, we just love the fact that we're involved with such a wonderful and effective organisation.
Fantastic. Julie?
Look, I think for me as an individual, I would agree with Robert. I think being involved in something like Snowdome, which gives so much back and is so effective, and you know that you're making a real positive difference to other people's lives. And then as an executive, I think it's really important that the company that I actually work for does share those values that I have myself. And I think it's really great that a company can support individual views the way that Village Roadshow does. I think it's very important for our employees as well. You know, we employ thousands of people, and a lot of them are quite young. They have a real passion about giving back to the community and about making real difference. And they want to see that we're actively engaged in that, as well as just talking about it. So I think that, you know, from a corporate point of view, there's real benefits as well as from just making the difference.
Wow. Well, thank you both so much, and Snowdome Foundation is hugely grateful for your support, which makes an incredible difference to the lives of the many Australians out there living with blood cancers. So thank you. Back to you, Hamish.
Just before you go, I would like to say, Miles, congratulations on your Australian Honours Award this year. Fantastic.
Wow, absolutely. Back to you, Hamish. Thank you.
Thanks, Marnie, and a big thanks to the Burke and the Kirby family and All at Village. 6 boardrooms, so a huge performance from All at Village. We saw earlier a wall being graffitied. Luckily, it's one of the producers, his husband's office's wall. Rezio is a graffiti artist, and Rezio is drawing a snow dome. Let's go back and see the time lapse that was happening throughout the week. Starting to take shape in Parkdale. Henry Jolson QC was an enormous loss to the community. His family is with us today. The Henry Jolson story is an extraordinary one. It's going to be shared with you all now.
My father really was a people person. He was very humble, very driven, and just loved to communicate. And I think he was passionate about most things that he did.
It just came from nowhere. There was nothing to indicate to us that he was getting sick.
I can't remember him ever being ill, never being sick, and all the time.
I think like many diseases, they just arrive, and it arrived like a bombshell. He was diagnosed literally the day before my wedding. I don't think at that point he understood the magnitude of what it was he was diagnosed with, and it wasn't until a few days after the wedding that he sat us all down and began to explain to us as much as he could about this disease that had arrived in our family. We'd never heard of myeloma before, and I think myeloma is a disease that very few people know a lot about.
I'd never ever heard of it, but when I approached medical friends of ours, they just, I could see from their face that whatever it was just, it was bad news. And then we had to just face this wedding, and we just did. We just closed a door and just pretended.
My father faced his adversity with absolute optimism. There was no other option. And up until, days before he passed away, he had optimism. When the doctors told him that there was nothing more that can be done and to go home,
we all decided to move in here, and it was actually more than a week. It was probably 2 weeks leading up to his eventual passing, and then we stayed for the week following as a mourning process, and it was amazing.
Henry really tried to live life to its fullest, and he just had the most incredible attitude towards his disease.
What resonates with me is my father had said to us, that it's a 3 to 5 year lifespan, and the fact that myeloma is incurable. My father had the illness for 8 years. When he was diagnosed, the drugs that kept him alive those 3 years, they weren't available when he was diagnosed. What we were told to focus on is hope, that there's a lot of money and research that's going into this disease, and although the lifespan at the moment, maybe 3 to 5 years, that can shift.
Because of all of the developments and all of the research that was going on, new drugs came on the market which gave him another opportunity to keep fighting.
There is no certainty on any level that he's going to survive any of the treatment. But I think as my father began to recover, he began to focus on that optimism, of the next drug.
I think that Henry lived in hope. He lived in hope that that something would be discovered.
Give Papa a kiss. Go on.
3 weeks before my father passed away, he hosted a lunch at the Alfred for the Alfred Foundation to try and raise money and awareness for his disease. The day after that, he went to hospital basically with pneumonia, but he wanted to send a message.
I think the message that he gave them, and I think the children want to, and so do I, want to continue the work that he was doing. And Henry knew when he was fundraising towards the end of his life that he knew it wasn't going to help him.
We're hoping now with Snowdome that people will understand and learn more about this. And we're hoping that with the money that Snowdome raises, you know, it will raise the profile, but also find a cure.
But obviously the ultimate is the cure. Okay? Now, if not for us, then for the people that follow us. And I think that's equally important.
So there's the Henry Jolson story, and it's wonderful to have the Jolson family with us today. Carolyn is here with Jerome and Stephen. We thank them very much for coming in today. Thank you for being a part of it. It must be very hard for you today, but we really appreciate coming in. And your opportunity in the boardrooms around Australia to help is to raise money, so make sure you go to the sites. Henry was very good friends with Jim Keys from the Masters Apprentices. They called themselves Blood Brothers. They both passed with myeloma. Darren Percival, who's one of Australia's best artists, sung one of the Masters' great songs. Here's Darren now from DY.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Darren Percival here at Soundcheck for our gig tonight. This year, I'm celebrating 20 years of making music with my mate, Paul Gray. Can you believe it?
20 years?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? A couple of months ago, we performed at Jim Keys' annual event at Crown in Melbourne, and it was a very memorable experience for us, and it was a great honour to be invited, and just as it is to be involved, you know, here today on the Great Shake-Up. We want to send out our grateful thanks to everyone at Snowdome for the inspiring work that they achieve and the awareness that they continue to create. All of us here have been personally connected to Paul's own journey with his diagnosis and ongoing treatment for myeloma.
And I'm very thankful that you've been so patient and kind to me during this little episode.
Cheers, man.
But I also wanted to say I had the good fortune of meeting Jim at the myeloma concert, and I also got to talk to him quite a bit prior to his passing. Not only did he give me a ton of tips and whatnot, but he was a very inspiring figure. So I'm very happy to be involved and to sing his old hit.
That's right.
How about that?
Yeah, should we go out and do that?
Let's do it.
Do you want to do that, lads?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to dedicate this song to our friend Jim with continued peace to all of his comrades and with all of our love for his family. So, thank you.
Darren Percival paying tribute to Jim Keys and Henry Jolson, and as you know, blood cancers don't discriminate. So whether it's one of the great artists in this country or the best legal minds or young Chloe Rutherford, it is a horrific scenario we face daily, and we need funds to try and battle it. You can get involved by getting involved in the auction, and we're just going to take 90 seconds now to show you what is available to be bidded on at your offices around Australia. So there's some of the auction items. Just a reminder that all money goes to helping Australians be treated that have blood cancer, whether it be lymphoma, leukaemia or myeloma. So whatever you bid, it goes to helping those Australians with blood cancer. Welcome back, Ness. Ness, what's doing in the Twitter sphere?
It's fantastic. Live from the Publicist Boardroom in Sydney, Snowdome Foundation are doing amazing things for research and also helping save lives. Great cause, we're learning a lot. And then 2 minutes later, they tweeted, "Walk the red carpet, yes please." So they're obviously bidding.
Well, yes please is really just a maybe unless they bid. We're up to $34,000 in the auction. So where was it? Publicist?
Publicist.
I'll mention you 5 times now if you bid properly. Publicist, 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 Publicist. So that should be at least $10,000 to walk every red carpet. There's a couple a month. That's 24. Amortise it, write it off, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. Keep the tweets coming. Let's go to Tim Fawcett. He's in the Cisco boardroom. Tim, welcome to you. This is the second year Cisco have supported the Great Shake-Up. Enjoying the afternoon?
Yeah, hi Hamish. Thanks for welcoming us to the studio. It's yeah, absolutely. We're having a great time here at Cisco. I'm joined by my colleague Sally Lowe, and we've got about 100 people actually spread across Melbourne and Sydney in the 2 boardrooms we've taken as part of today's event.
Welcome to you, Sally. Very bad manners of me not to introduce you as well. Tell us, why is Cisco so heavily involved in the Snowdome Foundation, in particular the Great Shake-Up?
Yeah, thanks, Hamish. Well, look, probably 3 reasons. The first one would be that we don't think enough's being done about blood cancers, and we think more needs to be done for that. You can't screen for them, for example. And the fundraising that took place last year with the Great Shake-Up raised over $1 million for blood cancer research. And so, you know, we think that's a terrific thing that there will be more of, and people ought bid for the auction items that you just outlined so we can raise even more to try and find a cure. The second thing would be it's an amazingly innovative event. It was a world first last year when Snowdome did it, and the people that came up with the idea from the Snowdome Foundation will be congratulated for that. And when you're an IT company, innovation is very attractive to you. I mean, we're built on innovation at Cisco and the IT industry more broadly. So innovative ideas like this, which actually harness the internet to allow people to view content, any device, anywhere, anytime, we think is terrific. So there ought to be more of it. Our staff love it also. So as I said, about 100 people across Sydney and Melbourne are viewing today's event, and we got some really great feedback from last year when we were involved with it. And the third point, Hamish, would be the people involved. I mean, whether it's the Snowdome board or the people involved with the Great Shake-Up, committee, or alternatively the supporters like our friends at Village Roadshow or AFL Media, Channel 7, Telstra and the other supporters. They're very professional. Everyone that's involved with it is very professional. They're extremely passionate. You've only just got to see that from attending a couple of the meetings, how passionate they are about the cause. And finally, they love life. Everyone that's involved with it loves life, whether it be their work, their play, their families, their education. They just love life. And why wouldn't you want to be around people like that?
Well, I think you've summed everything up perfectly. Thank you for being a part of it. I'll let Sally get back to her sushi. She hasn't touched it. You've actually devoured yours from what I can see. We actually had a moment there where we crossed to some empty chairs. That's because your technology at Cisco is so good, because every time something moves in the room, they go to the chair that's just said something. And now I think some people just left to go back to the sushi in another room. But thank you, Tim, very much, and thank you to Sally. So those guys are just going
Thanks very much, Hamish.
Get back to what is a great company and great supporter of Snowdome Foundation. Ness, anything else doing at your end, or are we going to come back to you in just a moment?
We do. We have the Lord Mayor of Melbourne who's just tweeted.
Robbie. Terrific.
Mr Doyle has said the Snowdome Foundation raises funds to accelerate new treatments for blood cancer. Donate now at snowdome.org.au/donate.
Did you listen to Lior on the way in?
He is incredible.
He's playing for us in just a moment. Here's just a little sneak peek of a great artist who won an ARIA in October.
We'll grow together, and this love will never, this old love will never die.
Now, you know what I've done, Ben? I've come from out of that studio early. Apparently I was supposed to say so the cameras could follow me around, but this is live television, so when you've got me in charge, lots of muck-ups. Ben McDonald, welcome, MasterChef Genius.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Ben, we are about to learn a bit about cooking and a bit about what you've done over the last few years, but more importantly, you are a sufferer of blood cancer yourself.
Indeed, yeah. In 2002, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, so very rare in adults, but
normally for young or old, right?
Exactly, yeah, either children or very elderly people, and I received treatment, and luckily for me, it went very well, thanks to all the work done by everyone else. And almost 13 years on, I'm very, very happy to say I'm well.
So how old were you when you were diagnosed?
24 at the time. Yeah.
Terrible. So you've now had, I think, 3 months you're in hospital. You had 3 years of treatments, and you've been in remission for 10 years.
Pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I had a very intense treatment. It was full on for me, full on for my family, full on for everyone, to do with it. And then maintenance and all the rest of it. The treatment went for a long time, but the result has been, fantastic.
So tell me this, I knew nothing about neurology at Royal Children's until my 8-month-old daughter was diagnosed last year. She was told she had 10% chance of dying in hospital, 80% of brain damage for life, 10% chance of getting through unscathed. Now I know everything. Did you know anything about blood cancers before being diagnosed?
I really didn't. I mean, I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but I knew nothing about that. I didn't even know how blood was made in your body. I didn't know the basics. I learned a hell of a lot really quickly.
Yep.
But it's just not knowledge people know, and it's things people should know.
It's terrible, isn't it? I mean, what is amazing though is out of this hour, we've already raised 300,000. They're trying to get to 1 million. So just reminded a bit at home. But thank you for being a part of this, the Lao, that I think will do a lot for plenty.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's brilliant being here. Yeah, it's a fantastic cause.
You are one of the auction items.
Indeed.
So tell me a little about one of the items that you've put up so people can bid at home for this MasterChef experience.
Yeah, so basically the opportunity is to come to Melbourne and come and have a tour around the MasterChef set with the judges, Matt Preston and Gary and George.
Perfect.
And then myself and two of the other finalists, who are Amelia and Tracy. Yep. We're going to cook your lunch. Yep. And make a real day of it. So behind the scenes tour, cook lunch by 3 finalists and hang out with us for the day.
Now you and I can't see it because we're in the middle of nowhere, but people are watching in the boardrooms around Australia at the experience that you'll win. Tell me, of the 3 judges, who is the nastiest?
I probably have to say George.
No good?
He's a
aggressive
good guy.
little man, isn't he?
They're all good guys, but he's a little bit shorter, so you know he gets a bit angrier faster.
Well, those that are 4'6" get angry very
They
fast.
do.
Tell me, today you've whipped up a few things for those that are watching on in the studio, the Jolson family and others. What have you prepared? Because this looks like one of those things where you say, here's what I prepared earlier.
Yeah, well, we've just whipped up a few canapes for the guys. We've got some beef with cucumber and cheese. We've got some lovely prawns with a guacamole kind of thing, and then we've got smoked salmon with cream cheese and chives. Classic combination. Easy to put in your mouth.
Tell me, I think it was the final show, wasn't it? You prepared something, and it was supposed to look like, was it a campfire dish?
Yeah, so we're supposed to create something that looked like something else. So I made a campfire that, well, it looked like a campfire, but really it was steak and potatoes covered in squid ink and leek ash. So the effect was it looked terrible, you couldn't eat it, but when you ate it, it was great.
So you got it right. It looked like you wanted it to. It tasted unbelievable.
Yeah.
The judges said, see you
yeah,
later.
the judges in Heston loved it, so it was definitely my highlight of the show and probably the best thing I've ever come up with, I'd have to say.
Just before we throw to Miles Prince, who's got a story that needs to be listened to, is it true that you have been seeing your partner, name is...
Robin, yeah.
For the last 7 years?
Yep, 7 years
She
today.
arrived... Today?
Yeah, indeed.
She arrived at your place and you were nervous, she was nervous. You cooked her what?
Yeah, I cooked her a lamb tagine the first time I ever cooked for her. No idea that...
She is a...
vegetarian.
She ate the lamb tagine.
Just so nervous, yeah, and...
and she's eaten meat ever since?
Yeah, she has her steaks rare now, and yeah, she's never looked back.
Well done. Ben, thank you for being a part of it. Congratulations with dealing with such adversity so well. Really appreciate what can I have here just before
You can take your pick.
Can I have one of these?
Yeah, that's probably the easiest one.
Before I do this on camera, we're going to go to the Regal Professor, Miles Prince, just to talk about another story that he has dealt with over his journey.
Bruce has a very rare type of lymphoma, and it actually took us quite a long time to be absolute definite about the diagnosis. Bruce's lymphoma was very aggressive, but it started off quite slow. So his symptoms built up over a few months, and then they really started to accelerate.
Obviously, one of the big questions is when do you stop it? How long is the process ever cured?
You've asked me that before. And that's the problem, is that, you know, this is a bit like treating blood pressure. People, I'm sure, go into their cardiologists and say, when can I stop my blood pressure medication? You know, my feeling is that we have to, you know, learn from what we know, which is get the disease down to its minimum, get rid of it, get it into remission, and then quietly, you know, walk back from that, walk back from the
It's a different target. concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, from, you know, cancer was either cured or it wasn't cured.
Yeah.
Whereas now, sort of the idea of controlling it is just different. You know, controlling it and being well is a different concept.
Yeah, and I think there's a middle bit in there too. When we know that there are certain drugs that are controlled by the immune system, I think, you know, a lot of us know that certainly with some blood cancers, the thing that ultimately causes it is the immune system not being able to suppress it, and the ultimate thing that cures it is the immune system cleaning up the residual. So, you know, in your sort of situation, I think we want to be patient and quietly step away, and the potential for long-term control is all about your normal immune system coming back. And there's no, you know, there's patients in the US who've been off drug for 5 years.
We've got a doctor in the house. We welcome Professor Miles Prince. Welcome to you.
Thanks, Hamish.
Now, I've got it on good authority, and it says on the back of your business card, leading haematologist, blood doctor in the world. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's good to have you here. It's always up to the best in the business here.
Well,
good story, Bruce Davis.
That's a great story. He is one of the special people out there that has fought his cancer and we've heard the theme through it, being optimistic.
Yep.
And he's doing extremely well.
Now, we've had Twitter questions come in for you. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've picked the top 5. So we need to work through them. This is from Prue at Martin and Pleasant's Boardroom. Question, people undergo bone marrow transplants to help them or even cure them of blood cancers. How does that work?
So the bone marrow is very important in supporting our immune system, and our immune system is really important in fighting cancers. So cancers are seen by our immune system like infections, I suppose, and what we're trying to do is with these new treatments is to boost the immune system. We're trying to actually replicate what a new bone marrow would do, and that's what happens in a bone marrow transplant if you get it from somebody else. You're replacing the patient's immune system with a fresh, rebooted immune system which can now recognise the cancer. And so that's why bone marrow transplants do work. But you need to have a donor, you need to have somebody who matches you, and that doesn't always happen. You need to have a brother or a sister or someone on a registry. And you need to be relatively young, because if you're too old for a bone marrow transplant, 60 plus, then it will reject you and the complications can be serious. So bone marrow transplants can be really effective, but they don't always work, and they can also be quite toxic.
Amazing how insignificant you can make people feel. You do bone marrow transplants. I talk about footballers on the weekend, which is sort of embarrassing. Gandel Invest Boardroom. How many new treatments for blood cancer are waiting for clinical trials, and how much does a trial cost?
Well, look, the last question is probably easier. The average cost for treating one patient on a trial is about $10,000 to $20,000, and that's because these patients have to be monitored very closely, and lots of monitoring of their progress through the treatment. So on the average clinical trial, there's about 30 patients at minimum, and there can be often up to hundreds. And it just depends on what we're trying to achieve with the trial, whether it's a small trial or a big trial. But we're always looking for new treatments, and treatments tend to go from the latter stages in a patient's disease. In other words, we often start new drugs in patients that are in most difficult circumstances, and then hopefully move them earlier into the treatment. So some drugs which used to be used in only the relapse setting are now used in frontline treatment. So to answer the latter question, leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, in Victoria there's about 60 clinical trials taking place, but in fact there's thousands of clinical trials done around the world, asking different questions, new drugs, but also bringing them in earlier. In Victoria, there's about 50 to 60 clinical trials in blood cancers.
All needing funding.
All needing funding, and we'd all like to do more, because as you know, as you've heard, there are new drugs that need to be tested.
Third question, Amy, whose mother Sarah died last year. Can you tell us more about the lymph glands, where they are, what they do, and their role in lymphoma?
Yeah, so look, the lymph glands are critical to our immune system. So if you can imagine, if you get an infection, the way the body deals with it, it's a bit like an ant and an ant's nest. The white blood cells go out, grab the infection, pull it back to the lymph glands where the battle takes place. And these lymph glands are all over the body. We've got hundreds of them in the neck, under the arms, in the groin, inside. And so they do all the fighting. It's where the battles take place. When they become cancerous, that's what's called lymphoma, because those white blood cells are called lymphocytes. And so if they become cancerous, for some reason they just go awry, they just become rogue cells, then you develop lymphoma. And the similar circumstance can occur in the bone marrow, and that's called leukemia.
Amanda Jones from Watermark. My friend has multiple myeloma. How does he get onto one of Snowdome's clinical trials?
So look, the Snowdome supports clinical trials. So these are clinical trials that are being done by doctors in hospitals all around Victoria. So all the big hospitals that we know, Alfred, Royal Melbourne, Austin, Peter Mac, the list goes on, country in non-metropolitan Victoria, Geelong, etc., etc. So they're trials that Snowdome supports all around Victoria for all Victorian patients. So we try and support people, and so people who can do the trials, the young doctors, the people writing the trials, monitoring the trials, the nurses, the statisticians. So the trials are out there, and Victoria is incredibly lucky in that we have great scientists and we collaborate a lot. So we punch above our weight if you think worldwide, and so getting on trials is really just a matter of asking your doctor, are there new drugs that I can have?
So this is from the Publicist Mojo boardroom, and they, I hope, have bidded hard on the Village Roadshow red carpet walk. This is, what's the difference between lymphoma and myeloma?
Yeah, so very good question. Look, the way I think of it is that blood cancer is an umbrella term for three key diseases: leukemia, lymphoma, and myeloma. The blood starts in the bone marrow, which is really the vertebra, and if you can imagine the vertebra and the pelvis being like a honeycomb and all the blood being made up in that. And when that becomes cancerous and it's predominantly the bone marrow, that's called leukemia. So it's a cancer of the early blood cells. And lymphoma is where it affects those lymph glands, which is another arm of the immune system.
Doctor, I was with Andrew Cody earlier.
Yep.
A lot of people around Melbourne, Australia have a poster of Luke Hodge or Nick Riewoldt or Buddy Franklin in their bedroom. Andrew Cody has you. So thank you for being a part of all that is going on at the moment. Your team do remarkable stuff, and thanks for coming in today.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm one of many doctors in blood cancer research that just wants to do more for the patients, get more drugs, and get the drugs to patients faster, and that's why we support Snowdome. And I can just thank you, Hamish, and the team here at AFL who have helped everybody at Snowdome, and you've done it all by just out of the kindness of your heart and support, and that's been amazing, and we just can't thank you enough for all you've done.
Absolute pleasure. I was speaking to the guys behind the cameras and doing the sound earlier, and they said it's the best event they've worked on because it's the one that means the most. So thank you again for coming in. Chloe Rutherford is the little girl that lost her fight years ago, and she's the one that talked about Snowdome so much. We'll speak with her father in just a moment, but Lior, who's in the next room, is about to pay tribute to Chloe with a wonderful song.
Yes, yeah, we're moving on, looking for direction, and we've covered much ground. Thinking back to innocence, I can no longer connect. I don't have a heart left to throw around. Oh, and time moves on like a train that disappears into the night sky. Yeah, I still get a sad feeling inside to see the red tail lights wave goodbye. But we'll grow together, we'll grow together, and this love will never, this old love will never die. When money slips into your hands and then slips out like it was sand, and there are shoes that you can never seem to fill. I've chased so much and lost my way, maybe a face for every day that so casually slipped me by. Oh, and time moves on like a train that disappears into the night sky. Yeah, I still get a sad feeling inside to see the red tail lights wave goodbye. But we'll grow together, we'll grow together, and this love will never, this old love will never die. Morning comes, sometimes with a smile, sometimes with a frown. Yeah, so I never want to worry if you're gonna stay around. So let's grow together, we'll grow together, and this love will never, this old love will never die. Yes, yeah, we're moving on, moving right along.
Thank you, Lior, very much. Beautiful stuff. You wrote that song?
I did.
Called?
This Old Love.
I've just been getting text messages from my wife as you were playing that saying, please get him around for dinner.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, with pleasure.
Single or married or with partner?
Married.
And you have a little girl?
Yeah.
Well, you saw Chloe, and we see her now. I mean, really emotional to listen to you and to see Chloe, who's no longer with us, reason really why the Snowdome Foundation exists. It's great to have you a part of it. Such a simple exercise to raise a few $100,000 today.
Yeah, it's a great concept, and I'm just really happy to be part of the important work that Snowdome is doing, so it's a pleasure.
Great to have you here. Tell us, what are you doing now? You won an ARIA in October. What does the rest of the year and next year hold?
Well, I put out a new album this year and spent most of it touring,
Yep.
so I think it's back to the drawing boards and try and write some more songs.
Well, get back to your daughter. Realise how lucky you are to have a healthy one. Thank you again for coming in. I'm going to go and speak to Chloe's father, Grant, as well as Nikki, who is a part of this great foundation. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Lior, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going next door. He's good, Lior, isn't he?
Absolutely
Very
gorgeous.
good. Nikki Long, Grant, welcome to both of you and congratulations on running an extraordinary foundation and a terrific, I suppose, virtual event today.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Hamish. We're really here today to do the thank yous to the enormous list of people that have been involved. It is just beyond comprehension how many people have met weekly over the last couple of months particularly, but in the lead up to this, and many of the people who have helped today did last year as well. So enormous thanks for volunteering their time. Many of them have day jobs, professional day jobs in very high positions, and given up time to help us raise great funds today. Firstly, and I'm repeating Miles's good sentiments, Hamish, you're a man in demand.
Pleasure.
And we don't take lightly all the work that you've put into this, giving up your time, coming back from holidays to be here today. Huge thanks.
Pleasure.
You'll see rolling on the bottom of the screen, the 15 ambassadors, all have pushed their networks to sign up to boardrooms, many of whom have helped behind the scenes. The committee, 23 people, and of course our event partners here today at AFL, Channel 7, B2 Cloud, Viacorp, who are live streaming this seamlessly into your boardroom. Thank you. It's your second year as well. Cisco and of course Telstra, Channel 7 down the road. Thank you so much, and our event partners as well. So, you know, heartfelt thanks.
Grant, I'm amazed. As a father, I had a new daughter, but you've lost Chloe. One thing is to deal with it. The second is to then act, and you're doing so much for so many. So on behalf of us all, thank you very much for what you've created. It's unbelievable.
You shouldn't just be thanking me, you should be thanking everybody. It's an incredible crew that we have, and you know, people put all their love and energy into Snowdome. You know, it's incredible people rallying around the family, but I think it's really sort of the founding members, all for different reasons, Miles and Rob and myself, you know, trying to further the cause of blood cancers. And I guess, you know, Chloe's gone and we can't bring her back, but I think if we can actually just make a difference in people's lives, it's kind of job done, really. You know, can prolong their lives so we can actually cure these dreaded diseases. Fantastic.
Can I just ask you, the naming of the Snowdome Foundation, I know it, but I'm sure there's a lot in boardrooms around the country that wouldn't, just quickly?
Yeah, well, the foundation is sort of more a, you know, I mean, Chloe was in and out of hospital a lot, and one day she was having an operation. She went into surgery, and as she was going under, she saw what she saw was a gift shop, or thought it was a gift shop, but it was just a nurse's quarters. So they had beautiful Snowdomes from all around the world, and you know, lovingly, people had given them Snowdomes from around the world. I'm not quite sure why, but like all things beautiful and magical, she had to have one. And she ended up, you know, with a collection, quite a considerable collection. And where that collection grows today, people still keep giving them to us. So the nurses from, you know, all friends, you know, family, everybody giving them those Snowdomes, and it just became a symbol of hope. Hamish, I think it, you know, became that real symbol of, you know, we can do things, that it's kind of magical, that we can actually make hope real.
Before we let you guys go, is there anyone you'd like to thank before we give an auction tally? But before we do, I think 8.3 million you guys have raised since 2010, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, we'd like to thank certainly not only the people today, but the 8.3 million tally has been from many generous individual donors, philanthropic-minded people who understand what we're trying to achieve, and that is to ensure that blood cancer patients do better than they are now. So thank you to all those generous people.
Nikki, these are the numbers as we speak. So 13,900 for the Sports Lovers package, 10,600 for the European cruise, Tony Gandel's 4,200 for the MasterChef experience, 18,000 donation for funding a clinical research nurse, 18,000 for 2 weeks of billboard advertising, 4,000 for the red carpet publicist. Is Michael a publicist, Grant?
No.
Come on, publicist. 3,800 for SeaWorld behind the scenes. So the auction will close in a couple of minutes when we're off air, but on behalf of everyone, congratulations again on all that you've done. Thank you to everyone that is in boardrooms around Australia. You guys have done an extraordinary thing just being a part of it, giving up an hour of your lunch, but also funding it as a result of your generosity. Well, I think Nikki just knocking on 400,000 from today, which is wonderful. Thank you to all the team at AFL Media here at AFL House who have done an enormous job. And anyone that would like to donate, Nick, the website is snowdomefoundation.com.
.org.au. Yeah.
Very important. But Grant, Lily is here, your daughter.
She is here. Beautiful Lily. Don't tell her teachers she's here.
Lily, come forward, give your old man a hug and congratulate him on everything. Lily,
no, she got
Lily, quickly, we've got to disappear. Well done, Lily. Well done, Grant. Again, congratulations. And again, thank you to everyone. We're going to disappear. This is how these virtual events work. 1 minute we're here and then we're not. Thanks very much for being a part of this, the Snowdome Foundation, what do we call this? The Great Shake Up Mark II. Thanks very much.
Thank you.